Ciao a tutti, this is Isaac here, and welcome back to Isaac Reviews 2022. When it comes to Disney's animated movies, back when Walt Disney himself was still alive, one of his most beloved works was the 1940 film Pinocchio, the second film he made based on the classic Italian story by one Carlo Collodi. Looking back on the Disney classic, it does kind of drag a bit sometimes, and it can get really dark in some scenes. But it still retains the same charm present in Disney's earlier works, coupled with some lovely animation that still holds up strongly to this day. But that was what was popular for Disney 82 years ago, back when they cared about quality filmmaking. Now, it's all about these soulless, shallow remakes of beloved films that didn't need to be fixed in the first place, full of bad CGI and acting more wooden than a tree. Okay, not all of them were bad, as I really liked these two, and this one was alright, but the rest of them range from just okay to, oh god, what were they thinking? And thus brings us to their latest remake, and it seems like it was Pinocchio's turn to become a real boy through live action and special effects. It has some pretty notable people working on it, like the director of Back to the Future and the composer of Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, as well as some recognizable names in the cast, such as Tom Hanks, but even then, my expectations were pretty low from the get-go, although by the second trailer, my anticipation basically amounted to...
Could be good, could be shit.
I mean, I will give it that I really liked how they translated the titular character and Jiminy Cricket into CGI. It was nice how they were able to be realistic while also retaining their original cartoon charm, which is refreshing given how bad and uncanny the CGI characters can look in some of the other remakes. Wait, I'm getting ahead of myself here. And surprisingly enough, that's the only thing I'm genuinely giving this movie props for outside of a handful of good performances, especially Joseph Gordon-Levitt as the conscience in training Jiminy Cricket, because everything else is just another example of Disney trying to fix what wasn't broken, only to f*** it up spectacularly. Honestly, do I need to describe this movie's plot to you? If you've seen the 1940 classic, this movie's almost the same thing. An Italian guy named Geppetto is lonely because he has a severe lack of bitches in his life, so he decides to create a puppet that he could consider his son. But after wishing upon a star, a fairy who's supposed to have turquoise hair, but that's not really viable here since the actress playing her is almost completely bald, comes into the scene and brings the wooden boy to life, telling him that he can be a real boy if he promises to be brave, truthful, and unselfish. And despite being almost the exact same thing plot-wise, it still doesn't work. There's tons of pointless changes like Geppetto having a fake-out death as opposed to Pinocchio, a seagull character named Sophia being added and serving no purpose to the story besides her actor just being a way less funny version of Awkwafina, and the character usurping one of the scenes where the blue fairy had some sort of plot relevance, and that same character only appearing in one scene and basically being forgotten from then on, despite being in a few other scenes in the 1940 film to give the wooden boy some extra moral advice and to appoint Jiminy as an official conscience in the end. In other words, her being race swapped was 110% pointless if they didn't even do anything with her character. Alright, let me try and wrap my brain around this. So, the people making this movie couldn't bother to give some screen time to the character that made Pinocchio a sentient being, but they could totally give some screen time towards stuff like a scene of Pinocchio messing around with a pile of literal manure and an unfunny r/fellow kids level joke that'll only date this movie if anything.
I've got it. Chris Pine! Nah, it'd never work.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
Moving along, you remember how earlier in the review I gave the film some credit for the way Jiminy Cricket and Pinocchio were translated into CGI? Yeah, well, that's as far as my praise for the visuals go, outside of Monstro looking kinda cool. And for two major scenes where the CGI looked especially embarrassing, let's start with the donkey scene. Easily one of the most haunting scenes in any sort of Disney media that still happens to fit their brand, but magic lesbians? Yeah, that's a bit too far. But in the remake, not only is the animation extremely choppy out of nowhere as opposed to the other CGI characters' movements being relatively fluid and smooth, but when Lampwick himself transforms into a donkey, it looks like a Snapchat filter. Like, it was genuinely embarrassing, especially for such an impactful scene.
Hey!
Yeah?
What the hell is this?
Next up, the climax involving Monstro, where Pinocchio and Geppetto are finally reunited. I did already mention that Monstro looks kinda cool, but other than that, the green screen effects in this scene are just terrible. Like, this might sound harsh, but the green screen here is genuinely on the same level as this scene from Black Widow.
Don't do it! This was fun! No!
Man, Disney just can't catch a break this year with bad CGI, now can they? But honestly, I'm not sure what else there is for me to say about the Pinocchio remake. Outside of the good animation on the two main CGI characters, a good performance from Joseph Gordon-Levitt, some decent production values, and might I add a wonderful score from Alan Silvestri, the rest just left me feeling empty inside. Most of the CGI and green screen effects were terrible, the changes made were pointless and stupid, Benjamin Ainsworth's performance was about as enjoyable to listen to as Tekashi 6ix9ine's discography, the editing sucked, and despite having two of the most celebrated people in their respective fields in very prominent positions, both of them are definitely at the bottom of their game with this. Like with almost all the other remakes, there's practically no point in watching this when the original animated classic is right there and also on Disney+. I mean, it's not the worst Disney remake per se, but even if I expected very little out of it, I still left feeling disappointed, and that's why I'm giving this one a 3 out of 10. Also, did I really just go this long into the review without pointing out the other Pinocchio movie released this year where the wooden boy sounded exactly like Ezra Miller? Huh. Well, that's what I call self-control. But I am extremely optimistic about Guillermo del Toro's adaptation of the story coming to Netflix in December, so hopefully we'll finally be able to get a good Pinocchio movie by the end of the year. By the way, I wanted to give a quick shout out to my cousin Tegan since her friends have trouble believing someone as awesome as me is her cousin, so I wanted to confirm that yes, we are related. I know that sounds too good to be true, but it's true. Anyways, thanks for watching this episode of Isaac Reviews 2022. Like the video and subscribe for more stuff like this, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!